Hello, everyone. This is this is Raphael Garcia here for another edition of the MMA Ratings Podcast. We had a couple of little bit of technical difficulty at the start of the show this morning, but we look to be up and live now, so I apologize on getting off to the late start. But it happens in the world of technology. One person who did not get off to a slow start in any fashion was Rafael dos Anjos as he captured the UFC lightweight title last night at UFC 185, and he did so in dominating fashion. And he completely pummeled Anthony Pettis for 25 minutes, and definitely solidified himself as the best man in the weight class. But I keep asking everyone who on earth saw this coming. I know for a fact that I didn't, and yeah, he completely beat the crap out of Pettis for the vast majority of the fight. Pettis was definitely landing some good shots at the very beginning, but he had nothing for Dos Anjos' pressure and his constant takedowns and his just superior grappling. So we come out of UFC 185 with a new lightweight champion. We also come out with a new women's strawweight champion as well. But we'll talk about that later on. So right now, let's just kind of focus on the main event and what we saw. Right from the start, Pettis was doing what he needed to do. He was landing his left hand very well. He was landing it very quickly. He caught Pettis early in the face and damaged his eye to a point where Pettis said that he wasn't able to see for the fight going from that point forward. But it was definitely a good strategy there. Because every time Pettis tried to circle off the cage, he was getting caught with that left body kick. So Dos Anjos did a very good job of controlling the positioning in the cage. He held the center, kept Pettis up against the cage, kept him circling, and every time he tried to circle, he was laying into his body. So we saw we saw a completely different Rafael dos Anjos, like not different in the sense of what we've seen during this current run, because he's looked very good in this run to become champion. But Rafael Cordero, who is his main coach, definitely put together a perfect strategy for this fight. Put together a perfect strategy in the sense that it almost seemed as if Pettis didn't have any answer. He was continuing getting hit to the body. He took some good leg kicks there as well too, and a lot of combinations to the head and to the body as well. So Pettis looked like I don't want to use the term lost, but he definitely looked like he didn't have an answer for everything that Dos Anjos brought to the table on uh, on Saturday. I was very impressed with what I saw out of the Brazilian, and it's really opened up a lot for the UFC lightweight division. That's something else we're going to talk about as well. What this means, what the ramifications mean of this win means for both Dos Anjos, Pettis, and the division as a whole. But let's keep talking about what Dos Anjos has done. As he came in as a challenger. I believe he Pettis was, I want to say, a minus 400 favorite in some places. I think it was maybe a little bit closer than that, but he was definitely the favorite coming into this fight. And the narrative leading up to this week was really like what does Dos Anjos want to do? He's not going to be able to outstrike Pettis, and if this fight does go down to the ground, where Pettis is so dynamic off of his back that there's a good opportunity that he can submit RDA. That was kind of the narrative coming into this weekend, but we didn't see any of that. What we saw instead was we saw Dos Anjos being quicker with the trigger, with his punches, being more crisp with his combinations, and landing more body kicks. And those body kicks were definitely doing work. Like even the few that Pettis was able to check and it looked like they were landing on his arm and his elbow, it looked like they were definitely damaging him from that point. So you must wonder what was Pettis' game plan coming into this fight, because as I mentioned, the whole narrative about RDA not being able to overtake Pettis in any aspect of mixed martial arts didn't come out to be the truth. So now we're sitting here wondering what was going on. And even as we look or listen to more of the conversations that come out now that the fight is over, supposedly Dos Anjos had a strain or a partially torn MCL coming into this fight that he didn't tell anyone about because he didn't want to get pulled off of the card. So if he wasn't even fighting at 100% capacity here, what did we really witness? Did we overhype Anthony Pettis? Did we think he is not as great as he's been built up to be? I don't think that that's necessarily the truth. I think he is definitely a dynamic striker. He's definitely a force at 155, but I think we really undervalued Raphael coming into this fight. Yes, he did lose, his two initial fights coming into the UFC. He got highlighted by Jeremy Stevens, and then Clay Guida basically forced him to tap out due to a broken jaw. But since that point, he's definitely looked a lot better. He got ragdolled by Khabib Nurmagomedov, which is someone we're going to talk about later too as well. He got ragdolled by him for 15 minutes, but Nurmagomedov's done that to everyone. So what did we really get to witness here? I think that Pettis is definitely going to be a household name in the division. I think he's 28 years old. I can see him building himself back up to getting another title shot. I can see that happening because I can definitely see him beating anyone else within the weight class at this point in time. He does have some holes in his game that we noticed last night, and those holes need to be answered. I'm not going to say his wrestling defense looked bad last night, but I think it was more because he was being hurt to the face and to the body. And I'm also going to question his cardio as well. Even though he continued fighting, he continued staying active, he looked get the third round, especially when he gave up that late takedown in the third, going into the fourth. So those are questions I have for him coming out of this fight, and wondering what's next for him as a former champion. For Dos Anjos, and I think he's going to get the winner, Donald Cerrone versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. They are. I'm not even sure. Let me see. I'm not sure when that fight is actually supposed to take place, but I know. Yeah, they're fighting at UFC 187 next month at the end of May. So I think the winner of that fight will certainly be the next number one contender, and they'll face Raphael. And it's interesting because Dos Anjos has wins over. He has a win over Cerrone, but he was recently defeated by Nurmagomedov. So it's kind of causes a a little bit of a situation at 155. Should we expect Nurmagomedov to defeat Cerrone and be able to do the same thing to RDA that he did the first time around? That was 2 years ago, and at that time we weren't really sure what either one of these guys were bringing to the table. So we'll see what happens next. If either one, if when one of these men back in upcoming MMA when they fight at UFC 187, I'm picking Nurmagomedov to take that fight initially, but you never know. Cerrone's been looking so great so far. He won 7 in a row. So who knows what this guy is going to do when they get into the cage at UFC 187. Moving down the 185 card, we had women's strawweight, uh, the women's strawweight fight in which we saw Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I'm still saying that name wrong, but we saw her basically dominate Carla Esparza for almost 2 rounds. Basically, well, she dominated her for 2 rounds, finished her at the end of the second. But Joanna just looked absolutely impressive. Carla scored one takedown. Joanna was able to shrimp out, get her hips out, get back up before any damage could be done. And it was almost as if she was waiting for Carla to gas herself out, because as soon as Carla tried for the second takedown and didn't get it, you could tell she had kind of depleted her reserves and she was in trouble. And that's right when Joanna started to step on the gas pedal and was pummeling Carla, like just pummeling her face in, hitting her with lefts and rights, just ones and twos, overhand rights, and Carlin knew they were coming. He couldn't do anything about it. She was wincing up, closing her eyes, taking these punches on the side of the head, and it was bad. This fight could have almost been stopped at the end of the first, but JJ came out in the second and just completely pummeled Carla for the rest of that round until she got the stoppage. I am not really surprised with what we saw here. I felt that either after seeing the fight between Joanna and Cordelia, I felt like either one of those two women would be the strawweight champion if they were given the opportunity to face Carla. So obviously Joanna got the win there and skipped the win here. I think her and Cordelia will fight again in the future. I think that they're the best two at 115 right now. This division is really trying to flush itself out. And I think it's in a different position than like the men's flyweight division is. That's I guess another group that's trying to figure out what to do with themselves because they don't really have any contenders for Demetrius Johnson. When you look at women's 115, I think that this is a weight class in which any of these women can kind of emerge as a dominant force. My personal pick to come out is Cordelia. I think that she kind of has like the full dynamic of being able to strike with anyone because her background is obviously with Nova Uniao and they're mostly a Thai boxing and jiu-jitsu team, but she's able to strike with anyone. She's able to wrestle defensively, and her jiu-jitsu is good. When she fought JJ, you definitely saw her get some takedowns there and be able to control her much better than Carla was. But focusing on the new strawweight champion, I like what I saw. She did everything, and even more so, I like what I saw from her leading up into the fight. She was very confident in herself, but she was never necessarily speaking down to Carla. I definitely like some of the jokes that she hit as far as with, so like the stale cookies, for example. Like all of that type of stuff is needed in MMA at this point in time. It's needed because the champions need to build themselves up as stars both inside and outside of the cage. So that was definitely something I like seeing. And she went in there and she performed. And she has that type of style that can get people behind her. The fans were definitely cheering last night. And as you know, right now in the May, this is Ronda Rousey's world, and every other woman is kind of like living in her shadow. But Joanna can definitely do some work, and I'm glad with what I saw from her last night. I think she'll face Cordelia next week, but I think she fights next weekend. Um, shit. Um, yeah, Cordelia fights in 2 weeks actually, and on the polling card where she'll fight Adrian Gale, and I think she's gonna take that fight. And I believe that she'll be the next woman in line for July. I think they're gonna set up that rematch. They don't have to set it up right now, but it was a good fight the first time it was around, and I just think it's really the best fight, best captivating fight when it comes to just being a challenge for both women. So that's what I'm looking forward to for JJ after she took the women's strawweight title last night. Let's keep working our way down the card. What was next? Then Johnny Hendricks and Matt Brown. I'm I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest Johnny Hendricks fan. Yes, he does have those highlight reel knockouts. He's been finishing guys left and right. But I've just never been a huge fan of his. And this is just another one of those fights where I feel like he was given like the perfect type of matchup to be able to showcase himself. Matt Brown's a fighter who's going to continue coming forward, which is going to set himself up perfectly for the takedowns, which is what we saw. Um, he just kept taking him down, kept controlling him, kept dominating him there, and that was basically it for the 3 rounds. Does this make Hendricks the number one contender to the welterweight title? From a ranking standpoint, it probably seems that way. Dana White has said that he's not sure if Hendricks is getting the next shot, which I hope he doesn't get right now, but I wouldn't be too surprised. They do have that trilogy fight between Henderson and Lawler kind of sitting there, and if Lawler can get past Roy McDonald, it would be a good idea to go ahead and make that fight. So you have that sitting there, but it kind of is what it is. And now at this point, I wasn't necessarily too impressed. I don't mean to say that in a way that kind of demeans the fighters, but I wasn't really too impressed with what Hendricks did, is what I was expecting him to do to get that win last night. Then we have Alistair Overeem and Roy Nelson. This is again, this is one of those Alistair Overeem moments where he looks awesome. He comes out there and he does what he needs to do. But next time he fights, we don't know what we're going to get. He definitely was good though. I like what I saw with his striking. He came in there with a strategy to pace himself correctly. He was definitely laying shots to Nelson's head. The knees for the body, the knees for the head were actually on point. The leg kicks looked great. The oblique kicks, even though I don't like that technique, they did what they needed to do in slowing Nelson down. And he went through some adversity too as well because Nelson caught him at the end of the fight, dropped him hard too, and it wasn't like a slip or anything like that. It was a clear punch, clear knockdown, and Overeem was able to weather that storm. He's kind of wilted lately when it comes to getting hit and getting knocked out. So it was good to see him get that win. This is his second straight win. But do I? I don't think he's ever going to reach that point where he's a number one contender because he would have to go through somebody like a Junior Dos Santos, and if he can't handle strikers like Ben Rockwell or Travis Brown, what is he going to do with JDS? I think I would like to see that fight, but I don't think he wins that in any way, shape, or form. He maybe want to hang back and see if Brock Lesnar comes back to the UFC and welcome him back so he can get another cheap victory over him. But right now, this he's just going to hang out as a heavyweight and kind of wait at the top there. I don't see him getting a title shot again, like I said, because I just don't see him beating any of the top guys. But this was a good win for him over Roy Nelson. I think Nelson definitely still has some value as a heavyweight because he's going to beat some guys. He's going to lose to these like the top five guys that are in the middleweight class. But that's the makeup of the heavyweight division. I think it would be interesting to see him fight somebody like a Jared Roshaw. Someone who tries to wrestle, tries to use that takedown game. Because Nelson does have good jiu-jitsu. He has good power in his hands. So it will be an interesting test for Jared to see if this guy's really ready to make that leap into the upper portion of the weight class. He did get a win over Josh Copeland last night. He finished Copeland, I believe it was in the third round. Yeah, it was in the third round with elbows and punches. And he admitted to being a little bit more tentative in his game plan because he's coming off of that knockout loss the last time he performed in Octagon. So I'm not sure if he's really going to be a breakthrough heavyweight, but I think that would be a good fight for him next. Jared Russell against Roy Nelson. Kind of left around there, but let's talk about the Henry Cejudo and Chris Carriazo flyweight fight next. In Henry Cejudo's first fight in the UFC, he looked more like a striker, where he was using his wrestling to kind of stay on his feet. But in this fight against Carriazo, he immediately went for the takedowns, landed multiple takedowns, controlled the position for most of the fight. And I mean, he was dominating. Carriazo is a man who just recently fought for the flyweight title, so this is a big win. As I mentioned, the flyweight division is trying to sort themselves out. So, uh, Cejudo definitely takes a win in the utmost fashion here. I don't think he should be immediately placed in there for a fight at Demetrius Johnson quite yet, however, because I think you have to get a win over one of, either Joseph Benavidez, Ian McCall, John Lineker, John Johnson. I think he's already paired up for when he returns from injury. So I think those four guys, you have to get a big win over one of those guys before you get to Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse has wins over three of them. He hasn't fought Lennox yet, but Lennox has been booted from the bantamweight division. But him and Cejudo have had weight cut issues, so maybe the UFC will give him the opportunity to cut that down. But either way, I don't think Cejudo should immediately be thrown into the mix there for a flyweight title fight. Dana White said that he wants him to fight on that Mexico card, which is, I believe, in July at UFC 188. So, or in June, excuse me. I think that fight event is in June, but that would be a good card to give him on. Obviously, they have Cain Velasquez and Fabricio Werdum at the top. Then they have Eddie Alvarez and Gilbert Melendez as the co-main event. Giving Henry a spot on that card, on the main card, would definitely give him some more spotlight power amongst the Mexican fans, which is a demographic that the UFC is trying to break into. So obviously, again, he looked very good against Chris last night. He got a dominating win. Ross Pearson and Sam Stout closed out the free portion of the event, and I hope Pearson also closed out Sam Stout's MMA career. He's only 30, but he's been fighting for what seems like forever. And he's been in the UFC since 2006, which is a lot of people almost kind of forgot about. But Pearson's been around for quite a while too as well. So this fight kind of went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I kind of picked it as like the potential show stealer of the night. Thankfully, the whole event was actually very good. But Pearson caught Stout with a counter left hand. They were both going for those left hooks at the same time. Pearson's was more crisp. His boxing's always been very technical. Stout's more of a brawler, but he caught Pearson right, he caught Stout right on the bottom of the jaw, put him down quite the same way that KJ Mills did, who was another technical brawler or technical boxer, and he finished him off there. So, I don't think that this is a huge win for Pearson. Definitely keeps him relevant. I think it'll keep him within the top 15. I think I don't think he is ranked right now. So this fight may bump him up into the top 15, just depending on how some other things shake down. But hopefully, I think that is the end of Sam Stout. He's done a lot. His fights with him, Spencer Fisher were awesome. But maybe it's just time for him to walk away and replacing, as we look at one guy who may be ending his career. We have Elias Theodorou looking better every time he competes. He defeated Roger Navarre by TKO in the second round. He broke Navarre's arm with a body kick. Navarre tried to check towards the end of the fight, and they kept showing the replay of Navarre's arm just snapping. It was disgusting, but awesome at the same time. So this is a big win for Elias there. He's another one of those guys. And he looks huge too. I read some report that he weighed in fight night at 217 pounds after missing weight on Friday, which is huge because he looks really big. And I find it interesting, because he fights at such a frenetic pace. Like right now, he's been able to stay undefeated just because he's been able to outwork everyone. So what's going to happen when he runs into one of these up echelon guys who has the same ability to pace just like him, but uh, are also more technical, they have more skill. So what's going to happen when that occurs? I think he needs to get his weight under control if it isn't already. He needs to do a better job of that and kind of manage himself there. But he looked really good against Navarre. Navarre definitely looked like a game opponent for him in the first round, but he just slowed down too much during the second round there and allowed Elias to pour it on and get the stoppage. I think Dariush used some interesting grappling to submit Darren Cruikshank in the second round of their fight. Uh, you know, this was a type of fight where they really played into each other's weaknesses. Darren was definitely the better striker, and you saw that when they got into their exchanges. Darius was kind of trying to wade in with punches and kicks, trying to get close to take Darren down, and Darren was just popping him with a variety of attacks. But once this fight hit the ground, Darren didn't have any answer for what Vimeo was able to do. He even used some incorrect type techniques to get a better position on Darren and get that submission. And Darren was citing that his weight cut was very difficult for him this time around, and it kind of sapped his energy and endurance, which is understandable. That happens, but this is a big win for Darius there. I think Christian will always have some value to the UFC because he's one of those guys that will always put on a action-packed fight. He's going to come forward. He's going to be violent and look for that hit kick. Excuse me, just look for the knockout. However, he can get it. But this is a bad loss for him at this point in time, and I'm interested to see what the UFC does in 10 next. So I already spoke about Jared Rosho, Josh Copeland. But let's talk about Ryan Benoit and Sergio Pettis. This was a hell of a fight here. Pettis was doing his thing early, basically controlling the fight, controlling every aspect, on the feet. He has to take down against Ryan, who was quote unquote the better wrestler. He had that great sweep from half guard, and he looked like he was going to, I don't want to say beyond cruise control toward the win, but he was doing everything right. And then we get to the second round, and again, it's another one of those situations where it's a counter hook that caught Pettis right on the ear, dropped him, hurt him badly, and Benoit was able to jump on him and finish him with strikes. Now, the big narrative coming out of this fight obviously was the kick to the butt that he hit Pettis with, just to be a dick. And it's funny because everybody was booing him and upset for it. Yes, it was unfortunate. Yes, he shouldn't have done it. I laughed at it. I understand the emotions that he could probably have been in after being down, knowing he was down, knowing he was losing this fight, and clipping somebody who was expected to kind of leapfrog him, someone who was expected to walk through him. But I think he may have been the biggest underdog on the card tonight, and to land that hook, see Pettis go down and finish him like that, I know he was probably very excited. Kicking him in the butt wasn't the right thing to do afterwards. Fans booed him and everything. I laughed. I thought it was funny. I felt like he should have. He was overly apologetic, which is what you're supposed to do. But I'm not too mad at him for it. I hope the UFC doesn't fine him for it. Dana White was saying, he wasn't too mad at him. He understood, you're caught up in the moment, and it was funny. It was a big win for Ryan. 120, as I mentioned, 125 is in need of some guys to kind of separate themselves and make a run at Demetrius Johnson. Maybe place him against Cejudo in that Mexico card just to see what kind of happens there. But that was a big win, and as you mentioned, it was the most important win of his career to this point. Joseph Duffy, if you have not heard, this guy is the last guy to beat Conor McGregor, and he dispatched Jake Lindsey. Jake Lindsey, they've given him his third straight loss in the UFC. He hit a sick head kick that kind of set the whole thing up, and then dropped Jacob with a punch to the body before the ref stepped in. But it was really his movement was very interesting. He kept Lindsey up against the cage, and like I said, he fired off that head kick with very little movement, very little round up or rotation, and put Jake out of his misery early in the fight, 2 minutes. And we'll see what this guy has to offer. Frost Abbey, who is his coach now, said that he's planning on cutting down to 145. So we'll see what this guy has to offer if he's really going to make a run, and if he's going to be someone worth watching. Obviously, UFC going to promote the hell out of the fact that he beat Conor, and hopefully get them in the cage again if that opportunity ever does occur. But obviously, we're ways off from that. We have other things down the line. Jermaine Geronimi opened up the night against Larissa Pacheco, and she finished off the Brazilian in the second round of this fight. And Pacheco looked like she had no reason being in there. She was just eating punches, much like Carlos Barker was in the co-main event. And she gets finished off in the second round of their fight. I was really impressed with what I saw from Geronimi last time I saw her fight. I haven't seen any of her wins, and I will admit. But last time I saw her fight, she didn't. She looked like she didn't belong in there. She was struggling with individuals who could take her down, and she's showing the ability to be able to strike defensively while moving away, which is going to be important when you're dealing with these women that want to take her down and beat her up. So I think we saw some good growth out of her there. It'll be interesting to see what they do with her next for women's bantamweight. Do they throw her in there with Holly Holm? Holm's another crisp striker. I would like to see that fight, to be honest. Two tall women who have built their names up on being striking aficionados. Obviously, you have Holm with her boxing and Delany with her Thai boxing. So it would be interesting to see. I would like to see that fight for sure. But UFC 185 was a great night. I definitely enjoyed everything I saw from start to finish. It was a great night of fight. I think this is exactly what the UFC needs to do to continue building on what they have going for them. They had a tough 2014, and this has been like the third or fourth card, probably more so than that. This year that has been really good. So I like what I saw, and I think that they're headed in the right direction. They do have a pretty busy April coming up. They have 4 events across the whole month and one every weekend. And I don't think all of those cards are going to be too fantastic. Even this weekend, the Brazil card, I don't plan on watching, to be honest. And I don't plan on watching. I plan on watching excuse me, just lost my train of thought. I don't plan on watching the Brazil card and nor that Poland card, to be honest. But that's neither here nor there, man. But still, this is another great event that the UFC put together. They um, are really building some momentum, I think, for this year. Guys are staying healthy. Um, we're still sorting out the drug testing situation, but that's definitely what that'll come with whatever it is. But we're seeing some very good cards be put together here by the promotion, and I like what I see. So hopefully this will be a narrative for 2015 that the UFC kind of turned it around. They're putting together great pay-per-views that are worth people's money, and people are going to be purchasing these events. I'm looking forward to seeing what the numbers were from this one and UFC 184. Actually, I haven't had this opportunity to look at those numbers either, but this is definitely going to be something interesting, worth watching. So what else can you look at? So looking forward, obviously MMA ratings will be covering a lot of action from UFC 185. Adam Martin and I will be putting together our fights to make post where we'll be looking at the next fights for some of the winners and losers for UFC 185. I think I'm going to do a post on Anthony Pettis and what this means for him to have lost the UFC lightweight title. I think he was the UFC's next big chance of being a crossover star. He was making his way into other forms of entertainment. I think I saw him highlighted at a NBA game on like NBA on TNT or something like that. I know I recently saw him featured on some show like that, but you definitely, now that he doesn't have the title anymore, I wonder what's next for him. And I don't think RDA has that crossover type of appeal. Obviously, Pettis has a look, he has a fighting style, he has all that going for him. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, this may be a point where we see the lightweight title go through multiple changes of hands, or we'll see someone become an established champion. I'm looking forward to seeing the next couple of fights in the division. Then you also have JJ as well. I think she's going to be someone who has the potential to hold on to that strawweight title for an extended period of time. I still think Adelia is the only woman that can take it from her right now. Jessica Aguilar is out there, but I don't think she's going to be coming around anytime soon. So we'll see what happens with that. But either way, UFC 185 was a very strong event from start to finish. I'm pleased with what I saw. I'm right now, just the narrative from fans are that they're very pleased with what they saw as well too. So I'm happy, and I think MMA is on uptick. So with that being said, be sure to check out MMA Ratings Net all this week for more information about the post-fight coverage leading into UFC Fight Night event this weekend. Keep an eye out for that. Follow me on Twitter at rgarcia_sports. You can check us out there to always see what I'm talking about. I'm talking MMA, NBA, just about any other random crap that comes to mind. Michael Ford, you can follow him. Adam Martin as well. Nathan McCarter also writes for us. He's also another Bleacher Report writer. So be sure to check us all out there. Follow MMA Ratings Net on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, be sure to check out MMAratings.net each and every day for up-to-date information about the sport, and be sure to go there to rank the fights. It's the only place where fans are allowed to rank what they thought of these MMA contests. So be sure to go in there and relay your opinion. And again, this is Raphael Garcia signing off for the MMA Ratings Podcast, March 19th, post UFC 185 edition.